Maurice Nicole's Psychological Commentaries, Volume 3, based on Nicole's work with Gurdjieff, Ouspensky, and Young. Great Amwell House, February 21st, 1948. Commentary on Time. Work Ideas. This is part 2, or the second video of 2, in regard to this topic. This is part 2 from the original text. In answer to Ouspensky's question, what is time? Gurdjieff replied, time is breath. What can this possibly mean? We can, however, with some reflection, realize that living things do not breathe at the same rate. We cannot, for instance, imagine that a minute organism such as an amoeba, a minute living cell, takes 3 seconds to inspire and express air. Now, the time of man's breathing is about 3 seconds. He breathes in and out. That is, his completed cycle of breathing is roughly about 20 to the minute. In pneumonia, when the intake of oxygen is impaired by the affected consolidated parts of the lungs, he has to breathe more rapidly when more oxygen is required. Yet, he has an average time of breath of 3 seconds. Mr. Ouspensky made out in dreams, times obviously varies. Dreams are many kinds and come from different centers. Some long dreams take only a few seconds of clock time. So one begins to see that psychic or inner time is different from solar or clock time, or, so to speak, clumsily, physical or outer time. The visible or outer surface of our bodies is in physical time, which does not vary and goes at the same rate for all, although I have wondered if it does, because there seems so much time on one day and so little on another. Still, if some kind of time did not go in the same way for all, it would be awkward, as we might keep suddenly appearing or disappearing, so our bodies remain in one time, our mental life, thoughts, feelings, in short, our inner psychic life can experience many rates of time. Now, each center is a mind of a special kind, related to one aspect of life, and each center has its speed. And again, each part of a center is a submind and has its speed. You have heard that each center works with its own energy or petrol. These different energy matters in the work are called hydrogens. Formatory center of the intellectual center, in which our consciousness usually dwells, works with hydrogen 48, and this is a very slow center and a heavy petrol. Emotional center should work with petrol or energy of half the density, namely hydrogen 24. If it does, it can theoretically work 30,000 times more quickly than formatory center at its fullest extent. But usually it works with a denser petrol. Even so, you can observe the quickness of emotional center in negative states, in jealousy, suspicion, etc. Sex center should work with hydrogen 12, but rarely does, usually using 48. Moving center should work with 24 and may do in moments of, or it reverses and stops working, so to speak, in the paralysis of fear or when danger is present. Practice can make it use its proper hydrogen, as in the long training of jugglers where movements are quicker and the mind behind your eye can follow. The two higher centers work with hydrogens 12 and 6. If we were conscious in either of them, if one or the other were behind the eye, the movements of the juggler would appear extremely slow, speaking from one angle. The denser the energy material, the slower the working. In the absolute, at the summit of the ray of creation, the finest energy, which might be called hydrogen 1, penetrates and comprehends everything simultaneously. Its speed of work is beyond all human comprehension, the speed of light, 130,000 odd miles a second, is very, very slow motion by comparison. Gurdjieff's suggestion that a table of time in regard to this idea, namely that time is breath. But first we must understand what Gurdjieff said. Time is breath. He showed that by the sort of time man lives in, he means his relation to time. We have already seen that time is different in different centers. Mohammed saw a jar of water falling off the table. He went into a trance and was in paradise for a long time. When he fell asleep again, that is, when he emerged into ordinary time, the water had not yet reached the floor, so he was in a different order of time. The earth is a living thing from the work standpoint, and its time is different from our time. Understand again that time is different, not only for different centers, but different classes of beings. The time, say, of a cell is different from our time. A cell lives, from our view, for a very short time. Yet, for itself, it lives as long as we do. Let us see briefly how the table of time deals with this difficult idea. In this table, we have, first of all, the idea that man can only take in an impression that lasts for a certain time. In this case, for roughly a 10,000th of a second. An electric spark, a flash of lightning, a flash of light, lasts for 1/10,000th of a second, and that can make an effect on his eye, that is, on his retina. Something far quicker will make no impression. It will not affect the machinery of the eye, being too quick for it. It's the same with the ear, which can only take in vibrations of sound up to a certain point. The next idea is time is breath. In this case of man, breath, as was said, is roughly 3 seconds. Now comes in a curious idea called time of waking and sleeping. All organisms, minute or great, have a time of sleep, a time of waking, and they're quite different for different classes of beings. Finally comes the time of life, taken in the case of man as roughly 80 years. Understand that these figures are approximate. Now, if you will notice, the relation between each degree is roughly 30,000. That is 30,000 times 1/10,000th of a second. The time of quickest reception of impressions in man is 3 seconds, which is man's time of breath. 30,000 times 3 seconds is roughly the time of waking and sleeping, namely 24 hours, or day and night. And 30,000 times day and night is roughly 80 years, the time of his life. Now, tonight we will scarcely go further, save to say that the world below man, or world of cosmos of cells of which man is built up, has a different time, and the world or cosmos that man lives in, namely organic life, has another time in comparison to man. Man is composed of cells, myriads of them. Man lives in organic life on Earth. A cell compared to man is as 0 to infinity. A man in regard to the living organic life on Earth, plants, fishes, birds, animals, etc., is again a mere dot, and so as 0 to infinity. Later on, more will be said of this. Notice that to organic life, a man is unimportant, and that to a man, a single cell in his body is unimportant. Now you may ask, what is the use of all this? It only complicates everything. Our trouble is that we suffer from a wrong feeling of I. Now this work is all about reaching a different feeling of I. One way of doing this is to realize generally from your inner understanding and not from your false personality pretending to be modest that we are very small in the totality of things. This emotional perception purifies the emotional center. Why? Oh, well, think. Reflect for yourselves. The work says we must realize our nothingness. Yes, not artificially, but in a real sense. This drains the emotional center of self-emotions and so opens it to another order of influences, namely higher centers, which are fully formed and work in us continually, only we cannot hear what they say, being what we are. These big cosmic diagrams can help us to realize our position on this earth and our state of being, the table of time in different cosmoses.